Well, a couple of rainy days, and I actually found a bunch of my shop again and straightened things, organized some stuff, threw out some stuff. So I thought I would talk some about equipment, since it's basically what beekeeping is equipment. The bees are pretty easy to make in the spring, and they pretty much do their own thing. And yeah, you got to, do a few things right here and there. And then in the fall, it's pretty much out of your control. You do what you can and try to help, but the ones that are going to make it are going to make it, and the ones that aren't. But it's about equipment. So you need lots of equipment in spring, and as you're making more bees, you need more equipment, and you need supers, and you need bottom boards, and you need pallets, and you need more frames, and you need more drawn comb that you don't have. And then it comes into fall, and they start reducing, and now you've got equipment to clean and put away and try to protect so that you don't lose the asset that you've accumulated, either in the boxes staying out and getting rotten, or your comb getting wet and getting wax moth in it. So if you're growing a hive or two a year, most people can afford to get new equipment, move along. When you decide to jump like I did and grow quickly, you need a lot of equipment, and that's where used equipment comes in. So some used equipment I got, these boxes, they're top-notch equipment. It's in fabulous shape. It's the frames and the boxes are quality and sound. But the reason I was able to get a deal on it was it had gotten massively infested with wax moth and a larder beetle. So larder beetle is named such because it has a tendency to get in your larder, which is what they used to call a pantry. And they've got a larva that seems to do about the same thing as the wax moth does. And then it's a little small brown or black beetle with a brown line across its back and some dots on it. So I've had to take the time to put all of this equipment through the freezer to try to kill this stuff off. Now here it sits, again, not wrapped up and protected or on a colony yet. It can get reinfested. It shouldn't be reinfested as bad as it was, but some of this stuff, and this is a good one. Some of them just had a mat across here like you could make a sweater out of. So some of the frames are going to need stripped down completely and redrawn. Some of them are salvageable by the bees, but again, it's labor. I had to put time into doing it. Here's some more. Just lots of damage in it. And if I put that in the hive, yeah, they can fix it, but that takes them a lot of work too. And I got a lot of debris to get drugged completely out of there. So, just be aware of that. But there is good equipment out there. So some of the other equipment that I got that, even some of it had bees in it, but the boxes are in rougher shape. And so you have to value that and see, where you come out, whether it's worth the labor you have to put into them. The bigger you get, the more revenue you have coming in, the less time you have for messing with that stuff. But sweat equity in the beginning is something you've got to do. So some of the equipment that I got, where a lot of the deep boxes were complete garbage, but the frames some of them are in decent shape, and I got a really, really good deal on them. But they have powder post beetle in them, and powder post beetle bores little holes, and they continue to work inside of the frame. So you'll pick up a frame that'll look perfectly good and sound, and then there's nothing in the middle. They completely disintegrate the wood. If I can get this one to set up here. So as you can see, this looked like a perfectly good board, but the inside of it's completely gone. And the only way you can tell there's powder post beetle is little bitty holes. So what I've been doing with the ones with powder post beetle, number one, if they've got it to this severity, they're just garbage. They get thrown out. And there were quite a few of those. But they all had foundation in them. So the foundation's still okay, but I got to clean it. But the other ones are going through my wax melter. I'm popping the foundation out, get them in there, heat them up, 250 degrees, 300 degrees. Overnight, that's going to kill the powder post beetle. It also, dries them out real well. So if there's some that you missed, when they come out of there, they're definitely coming apart if they're shot. So, and if you don't fix these problems, if you try to get, that equipment over there on the bees and it's infested, the bees aren't going to be able to clean it up and take care of it. If a couple of wax moths come into a colony, they can deal with it. But if you put frames in there that are already completely laid up with wax moth, you're just asking for trouble. And the same with the powder post beetle. You put in a frame that's got it in it, and you don't think it's bad. Even you see a hole or two, but it feels sound. But they're still in there and they're alive. The bees can't do anything to that powder post beetle. He's in the wood. They completely decimate the frame, then you go to pull it out and it just crumbles and falls apart. Well, now you got to put a whole nother one in there and the bees have to draw it out again. If it's full of honey or it's full of brood, you got to try to do something with it to salvage it, and labor wise it wasn't worth it, for a couple dollar frame. So when you're looking at this used equipment, you got to evaluate that. How much work is it? How much do I want to do? The other thing, as I went through my shelves and cleaning, there's all kinds of stuff that I bought when I had a couple of hives and I was playing with new things and trying stuff that is headed out. I don't need it anymore. I'm not going to use it. I don't need a spacer to set 9 frames. I can set 9 frames without a spacer. And I have things I can put in there that tells them exactly where to go. Thought these things were pretty cool for being able to get a frame up out of there that's stuck. The problem is when you need to get a frame out of there, this thing's laying on another box and you can't get to it. Versus your hive tool that's in your pocket. Got a whole bunch of feeders that go on the front of the hive. Not feeding that way anymore. It's all fine if you've got 1 or 2 colonies, and you're playing with this stuff. Another one that I really liked are these mouse guards. They go on the front of the hive. You guys, I'm sure, have seen them in my videos. But I'm going to a different style where I've just got a hole that's up higher that the mice can't get into. These weren't real expensive from Glory Bee. I really liked them. You could just flip them over and ventilate the hive while you moved it, and it kept them in. You put it this way, it was an entrance reducer plus a mouse guard. You could throw a little duct tape on it to reduce it even smaller. They were really handy. If I'm running just a few colonies that have a bottom front entrance on a bottom board, they're great, but I'm not doing that anymore. I'm switching. So it was kind of neat to go through a lot of this stuff and realize where I've advanced to. If you start to grow, look at the way the big boys are doing it. There's a reason that these professional guys are doing things certain ways. I've got a bunch of wax up here. I really like wax foundation versus plastic. The amount of time it takes to put it in. And then I had a bunch of it in waiting to get drawn out this year, and we hit 114 degrees and it melted. It all warped and fell apart. You get wire to screw with. There's a reason that these guys do plastic foundation when they get up to those levels. I threw out the stuff that I was trying to make foundation with this last year. That silicone molds that I had put together where I was going to pour my own foundation and do it all, because I like to do it myself. Problem is, it didn't work real well. It would have probably been manageable, but it took a lot of time. It didn't really save me anything. It used a lot of wax. So, these are things to keep in mind as you're growing. These clips that I was using to hold all my boxes together. I really liked them. They hold the bottom board together, they hold the top board on, they hold the boxes together so I can move them without them coming apart, and I don't have to use hive staples. They were great, but the way we're running hives on pallets now, I can't have them. They're in between the boxes, they hold them apart, it doesn't work. But I believe I'm still going to use these to hold my tops on, because I'm running those Russian tops that are taller and don't fit over the front, and I believe I'm going to use these front and back instead of on the sides to hold the tops on. The way they were doing them was with screws, which means you've got a screw gun to get in them, and it's a pain. So anyway, these are, you know, things that have changed as I've been learning bees and going through bees, and, you know, changing my plans and what I was doing. So here's the other experiment we tried this summer, and I didn't have time to actually put some wax in it. I did go back and throw some lines of wax on it I thought might help. And the bees did attempt to put comb in one jar from the bottom up. This is still something that I think is a cool idea, and I want to try it, and I'll try to get some foundation in some of these jars this winter. But the other problem you've got with it that I realized as I'd look in to see how they were doing was they've got to move the air through the jar and back out to get it to ventilate. They can't move the air up and out like they do in the rest of the hive to dry the honey. So one of the things that I'll do next year is I'll put a vent board or something under it so that the hive is venting right there at the top, and as they need to pull that moisture back down, it can get out. So anyway, because I just think that's kind of cool if they'll fill those with comb and fill them with honey. So anyway, just a few observations I made while I was trying to find my shop again so I can get on to another project and make a mess. So anyhow, we'll get this up, you guys.